Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel, and tonight, whether you are lighting up on your back porch, sitting in your favorite lounge, driving home from work, or just enjoying a cigar in the peace and quiet, we are glad you're here.
Yep, and I'm Kevin, and we're coming to you live tonight with an episode based on a question that's been getting a lot of buzz here at Cigar Rebel lately. Mel, what's our topic for tonight?
So tonight is what makes a cigar box-worthy.
Yeah, and so Rebels, we plan on doing an episode tonight on boutique cigars versus craft cigars and a discussion around that tonight. However, this topic has come up a lot lately with us here at Cigar Rebel.
Right. And since our episode, The Duel, that was a few weeks ago, Leslie of the Corn mentioned that her determination of a cigar's value is asking the question, is it box worthy?
And by the way, one of our cigars, Mel, from that night of the duel was actually considered box worthy that night.
That's true. But
and so back to the top a little bit. The statement from Leslie sparked a lot of conversation, and we felt it deserved a deeper conversation here tonight.
Yes. So Rebels, go ahead, cut light and settle in.
And so, Mel, before we get too deep into the conversation, what are we smoking tonight?
Tonight we are smoking the Intemperance BA21 Treachery by RoMa Craft. It is a Brazilian I can't say it now. Araparica Maduro wrapper, Indonesian binder, and then Nicaraguan and Dominican fillers.
And so what are you getting on the cold draw so far?
For me, I've got just a little bit of maybe like a dark earthiness in there. There's almost a richness to it as well. And I'm not necessarily getting spice, but there is a little tang in there. I don't know if you're getting a spice, but I'm not necessarily getting a spice on the cold draw.
I'm getting just a little bit of that earthiness. It's not really a sweet hay or a hay. There's just an earthiness there. There's a little bit of a twang always in this cigar. I think it's the Brazilian wrapper, but definitely a great cold draw. I'm excited to get it lit here in a second. Before we do that, love to say hi to a few people with us tonight. Krista, is good to see you. Addie as well. Then we have King's Highway is on. Always glad to see you guys. Leslie says, hey, Rebels. Good to see you, Leslie. Roper's on. Hello, my friends. Dave says hello. And then Leslie says, absolutely, y'all, cigar from that night is definitely box worthy. Love to hear that. Top-notch stogie right here. Tammy saying hello. Roper says Hooten Young 50 cal with a Hooten Young 12-year bourbon, which is awesome.
Nice.
Absolutely, I agree, Dwayne. The cigar is earthy and some oak, and so really excited about that. And so let's go ahead and get this cigar lit tonight. What is the lighting for you tonight is brought by the Elevated Humidor.
Some moments deserve more than just passing by. They deserve to be celebrated. That's the philosophy behind the Elevated Humidor. Born from a passion for hand-rolled premium cigars, TEH blends world-class tobaccos from the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua into cigars crafted with tradition, precision, and purpose. Whether you're marking a milestone, closing a deal, or simply taking a well-earned pause, the Elevated Humidor turns a simple moment into a lasting memory. With 4 distinct collections crafted to satisfy every palate, there's truly something for everyone. Explore the smooth refinement of the Velvet Collection, the elevated sophistication of the Elegant Collection, the timeless character of the Core Collection, or the flavor experience of our Infused Collection. Visit your preferred tobacconist and ask for the Elevated Humidor by name. If you don't find us on the shelf, our premium collections are available online through our trusted retail partner, Two Guys Cigars, bringing exceptional craftsmanship and unforgettable experiences directly to your door. The elevated humidor. Celebrate life the elevated way.
As always, thank you to our sponsors. Now that we've got this lit, getting anything off of it right off of the get-go here?
Yeah, so I mentioned in the cold draw, I absolutely love this dark Brazilian now you've got me, I can't say it. Airparique wrapper. It really opens up very tangy to me. There's a nice woodiness there. Dwayne, I agree with that. Talks about the oak on that, and I would absolutely agree with that. That's really what I'm getting right now. There's a little bit of a char smokiness to it, but I've only had 2 draws on it, so it's tough to tell.
Same. I would say for that. I'm excited to get into this a little bit more as we continue on. But tonight we are talking about the moment that every cigar smoker, they eventually face. You are smoking the cigar. You are really enjoying it. Maybe you are enjoying it a lot. And then you kind of look at the box and you ask, do I buy another single? Do I buy a 5-pack if they offer a 5-pack? Or do I just go all in and commit to the whole box?
Yeah, and Mel, that's really tonight's question, right? I mean, what makes a cigar box worthy? And to be clear, we're not evaluating whether the wooden box is worth keeping, although a lot of people collect those lately and make fun things with it. That's not the conversation tonight. We're asking whether the cigar inside the box is worth owning multiples and purchased at a box quantity instead of as singles.
Yes, because really we talk about enjoying a cigar is easy, and it should be easy. If it's not, then that's a problem. But buying 20 or 25 of them really is a relationship with that cigar. Singles are really for exploration. Boxes are really for commitment.
Yeah, a single says, that cigar, that was interesting. A box says, I want this cigar to take up permanent residence or permanent real estate in my humidor.
Right. And that decision really should involve more than just excitement. A cigar may taste excellent once, but will it always deliver consistently? Does it fit your palate? And will you realistically smoke that many? Does the box offer the genuine value? And will the cigar improve with the rest? Is it scarce? And are you just reacting on the marketing?
Yeah, and maybe the uncomfortable question here tonight, Mel, really is around, do you love the cigar or do you love the idea of owning the cigar?
Right. And I think that's really where it gets interesting.
Yeah, because the end of this episode, this is the RoMa Craft BA Treachery that we talked about. We're going to decide on this cigar, and we might talk about a few other cigars, but is this cigar box worthy? For you, for me, those in the comment watching, those who are smoking along with us, we'd love to have your input, because nobody wants to own a box of cigars that they regret.
Right. And we're also not basing this just because someone has given it a high score, and not because the brand called it a limited, and also not because the box looks good on social media. The cigar has to earn it, has to earn that box status.
Yeah, and there's a huge shout out to Leslie of the Corn for bringing this up in this conversation up among Rebels over the last several weeks, back in that episode a few weeks ago called The Duel. Her comment around how does she value a cigar, she said her and Popcorn decide, is it box worthy?
Right.
That's their definition of value when it comes to a cigar.
Yeah.
And so, Mel, what does box worthy actually mean if we're going to put a definition to it?
Yeah, so I think starting with the definition is helpful. So a cigar is box worthy when the enjoyment, the consistency, the value, and the long-term performance of the cigar combined with the quantity smoked or shared outweigh the continuing purchase of singles.
Yeah, and when you buy singles, Mel, you just keep exploring, right? It's the opportunity to try new cigars. But when you buy the box, you're choosing repetition. You're making the decision, I'm going to smoke more than one.
Yeah, I mean, it really, purchasing a box gives you much more of that experience with that cigar. And it also uses money and humidor space you could have used for variety.
Yeah, and the reality is when it comes down to purchasing a box, every box purchase has an opportunity cost, positive and negative.
Right. And that's why it's good for a cigar to not automatically always be box worthy. A cigar can be good enough to try. It can really be good enough to buy again. Maybe you buy a 5-pack, or good enough for the whole box, which is what we're talking about. But those are all different levels of confidence.
Yeah, and I love that progression. I want to go to a couple of notes here in the chat. It says, Leslie the Corn says, for me, a cigar gets 3 strikes, like baseball. I smoke the cigar. If I like it, the next time I smoke it with a glass of white wine, that allows me to focus on the flavor and nuances of the cigar. Alex says, everyone has different criteria as far as making a cigar box worthy. I'd love to hear from the group what's theirs. And Alex, that's exactly what we're trying to do tonight, is not decide and give you a specific criteria, but help you build a scorecard for you to have an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Then Leslie said the third time she pairs it with the Cabernet Sauvignon, and the red wine enhances the complex, the depths of the flavor of that cigar, and that's when I know this cigar is perfect and I want a box.
Right.
And so Leslie's got a whole plan. Roper says, when I buy a box, it must be a proven favorite. I will have had it multiple times and enjoyed it each time. Mm-hmm. And again, as Mel talked about her progression just now, we want to set out a scorecard or a process. And I love the feedback we're getting already in the chat.
I love that. And this is especially important, that progression, when you are still developing your palate.
Yeah, absolutely. As a new cigar smoker, it is worth buying a box of cigars of something that you love, and then to continue explore new cigars, new vitolas, new wrappers, new blends, new country of origin, to better understand your palate and your preference of cigar. But that doesn't mean you can't buy something early on.
Right.
Like an easy example for me was when I first started smoking cigars, I smoked the dreaded Fat Bottom Betty. My first box buy was a box of those, because I was going in and buying 2 or 3 at a time. And a gentleman I was meeting with named Chuck was like, hey, why don't you just buy a box? That way you don't have to drive here in a few days. And I was like, that sounds good. I bought the box. And then the next box, maybe 5 or 6 days later, I bought another one, because now that I had 10 of them at home, I smoked 2 that night instead of 1.
Yeah. As
a shop, you should love that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all about exploring, but that doesn't mean you can't buy something you love up front.
Right, 100%. I'm trying to remember, that reminded me, I was trying to think of what my first box of cigars ever was. It was not a Fat Bottom Betty.
It was not.
But I'm trying to remember what it was specifically, and I'll think about it while we're still going through. But going back to, developing your palate and stuff changing, you may want to start with that mild Connecticut wrapper. Then you discover maybe the medium body Habano cigars. Then maybe you move on towards broadleaf or Cameroon or Corojo potentially. Maybe you throw in some of those fuller Nicaraguan profiles in there.
Absolutely.
But really buying a box of each of those too early can lock you into a cigar to determine really if it's not in your palate preference or not.
Yeah, because the reality is the cigar may not have changed, you did. So I still had Fat Bottom Betties in my humidor when I moved on.
Yeah.
And so I eventually ended up giving those away because I couldn't really smoke and enjoy them anymore.
Yeah.
That didn't mean it was a bad box buy. It just meant the cigar didn't change. It's performing the same way. It's been made for 12 or 24 years. Mm-hmm. I changed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a great alternative. If you do buy a box of cigars, maybe you don't care for as you're going through it, just keep them for your giveaways when you have friends over or something like
Absolutely.
that. But really, box worthy means a lot more than I loved it and plan to smoke more of this cigar.
It's so true. It really means I enjoyed this cigar well enough to want a long-term supply, or I'm going to smoke one of these every day or several a week, and it makes sense to keep a stock in my humidor at home or in my locker or wherever you keep them. Mm-hmm. And so, Mel, let's give the Rebels a practical starting point. How many cigars, and Leslie talked about it already, but how many cigars should you smoke before buying a box?
So our recommendation is 2 or 3.
Absolutely. There are some exceptions to this that we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode. However, in normal circumstances, you'll want to smoke a couple of the cigar on different times or different occasions before you commit to a box. You can be the same day, but the reality is so much impacts your smoking experience.
100%. It's really influenced a lot by what you've already eaten that day, what you've drank, maybe the time of the day, what was your mood, what was your setting, what was your smoking pace, your cigar's humidity, what have you smoked recently.
So many good things.
So many good things. We've found recently when Kevin and I are relaxing and having a cigar, he smokes very slow and I smoke very fast. So just throwing that out there.
So say that again.
When we rediscovered recently, when we're just relaxing and having a cigar, you smoke very slow and I smoke very fast.
Absolutely. But when I'm busy, I smoke fast.
Yeah.
So like if I'm working or I'm actually reading, I mean, I am hammering the cigar.
Yep. But your pace can have an effect on the cigar.
100%. I often have things like this where I'm already starting to dome a little bit or I'm smoking too fast because I'm focused.
Right.
We're talking to the rebels out there. We got a live audience with us.
Yep.
I'm looking at my notes.
Yep.
But if I was just sitting here watching the soccer game like I was yesterday, you smoked 2 cigars in the time I smoked 1.
Yep.
Which is crazy because when you blended the Ladybug, you blended the Petite Corona, so you could smoke it at the same time I smoked a Toro.
100%.
So things changed. The
changed.
cigar didn't. She changed.
Yep.
I worked on smoking slower and was successful.
Yeah. And I worked on smoking quicker apparently and was able to do that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
a great cigar doesn't, it may have arrived really during that perfect moment, and that doesn't necessarily mean you need 25 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's always the vacation cigar effect. Before you move on with Celtic, saying here in the UK, need to try at least 2 before commitment. Great to see you on tonight. Smoke it easy. The problem I see with the box-worthy cigars is when you have several and you establish a large collection, you tend to forget about them, and then your palate changes and you end up giving them away. See, and Alex, I do agree that that's a problem, but I think it's actually an opportunity to help share. But I understand it costs a lot of money to pick those up. And so,
Right.
Mel, as I was saying before I went to comments, there's always the vacation cigar effect, which wildly impacts the experience.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's been there, but you're sitting near the water, the weather's perfect, nobody's emailing you, there's no work. Almost any decent cigar has the advantage at that moment.
Right, and it really does impact the overall, right?
Yep.
You smoke it on vacation, you buy a box, you get home, you light it again, and it just does not hit the same way. For those of you that are wine drinkers, you've probably experienced this. You've been out to a winery, or you've been to a shop, or you've gone to a wine event, and there's this wine that is spectacular. You buy a bunch of bottles and people get it home, or they go to Europe and they drink wine and they bring it home and they're like, it is just not the same.
Right.
I think we have the same experience when it comes to a cigar.
Right. And that's why really the context matters. Smoking the cigar 2 or 3 different days really helps separate that cigar from the moment.
Yeah, because the issue is you want to really be mindful of smoking across those cigars. Right.
Yeah.
You really got to be thinking about what should you be thinking about? How should I be planning if this cigar is box worthy or not? And so, Mel, what should we be thinking about?
So really just, keep it simple. We're big fans of keeping things easy. Just ask yourself some simple questions. Did you enjoy the flavor each time? Was the draw reliable? Did it burn reasonably well? Did the strength fit your profile and what you enjoy? Did you finish it comfortably? Did you want another one afterward? Did you think about it later? Did you think about it again the next day? Those are some easy things to ask yourself.
Yeah, and some cigars are enjoyable while you're smoking them. Others stay in your mind, or you begin to kind of crave them or think about them.
Right. And the ones you continue thinking about are stronger box candidates than the ones that maybe you've had once and don't remember.
Yeah, so the 3 cigar rule is this. If you smoke 2 or 3 on different days or occasions and love the cigar on the second or third, it might be box worthy.
Right. The first major box worthy standard is consistency, because you are not just buying one cigar, you are buying a repeated experience.
Yeah, and handmade cigars will always have some natural variation in them. No matter what anybody says, they're still a handmade product.
Yeah, they're premium cigars, they are agricultural, and so you might get one that doesn't live up to the mark because it is handmade.
Yeah, because leaves vary, rolling varies slightly, humidity and transportation affect performance, Mel.
Yep.
And all of those things happen. So if you're thinking about buying a box of cigars for the rebels out there, what would make you hesitate?
I think if 3 cigars give you 3 dramatically different experiences, so one is going to be excellent, maybe one is plugged or has a really hard draw, burns hot and tastes unbalanced. That doesn't necessarily mean that the blend is bad, but it does mean that you probably need some more information before you're buying a box.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave in the comments says, I like to choose different vitolas of the same cigar to see how they compare. Alex kind of agreed with him and talked about also choosing a different cutting style.
Yeah.
And that's something we do as well. Try it with a straight cut, a V cut, a punch. All of those are great different variations on the cigar. Because when you're smoking a cigar, and even if they perform differently, which is why we say 2 or 3, if you smoke one and it's great, you smoke the second one and have an issue, you might want to have a third one just to see, because how the cigars were stored can have an impact. Mm-hmm. Maybe one was damaged, maybe one was a fresh shipment and a little bit of rest, and those can all impact that. Did you buy it from the same humidor? Did you have them in your humidor? All of those things matter.
Right. Yeah, and you and I don't necessarily subscribe to the cigar has to rest before you smoke it and you enjoy it. But some people are going to say that's controversial. And there are sometimes that the cigar does need to rest depending on the shipping conditions, but we don't believe that's every single cigar every time.
Yeah, because the reality is consistency kind of has 2 different sides.
Yes.
Right? Manufacturing consistency and personal consistency. Why don't you explain personal consistency to us?
So, do you consistently enjoy the cigar? A well-made cigar can perform perfectly every time and still really not hold your interest.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that, Mel, I think, is that reliable, consistent, a great burn every time doesn't mean that it's exciting for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it holds your attention. It simply means the quality of construction and performance. That and your enjoyment, 2 separate things.
Yeah. I mean, that's really true. I think the cigar has to deliver that consistent performance and also the consistent desire.
Yeah, and here's another uncomfortable truth for you rebels out there. A cigar can be excellent and phenomenal and still not be box worthy for you for many reasons.
Yeah. Quality and personal fit for your palate are not necessarily the same thing. You may respect the blend. You may enjoy the cigar that you're smoking. You can appreciate the tobacco, recognize that craftsmanship, and you still don't want 20 of them.
Yeah, because some cigars are impressive experiences. You smoke one, you're glad that you tried it, right? But you might revisit it again sometime soon. That does not mean you need a box or 2 in your humidor.
Right. A box-worthy cigar is going to actually fit your palate. So there are a few important questions you can ask if you're struggling. And that could be, again, go back to the strength. Is it appropriate for me and what I enjoy to smoke? Do I enjoy those core flavors? Did the finish really remain pleasant? Is it balanced? Is it complex enough that it remains interesting throughout the smoke? Is it simple enough to become dependable? And
Right.
does it leave me wanting another one?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question at the end. Does it leave me wanting another one? And kind of thinking about that, it often makes me wonder how often we think about the cigars we're smoking, what we enjoy. Are we chasing the marketing? Are we chasing the brand? And so it's just an interesting question to me.
Yeah.
Something I don't have in our notes to explore, but maybe we need to explore that one more in another conversation, Mel. But kind of getting back to the notes, another thought for you rebels out there is I truly believe a cigar does not have to be complicated or complex or the most phenomenal cigar you've ever smoked in order for you to consider it box worthy.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thought on there, because a daily driver cigar may not transform every 15 minutes, and it may deliver the cedar, the nuts, maybe some cream, baking spice consistently from the beginning all the way to the end. If you love that profile, the reliability, maybe that's more important than those dramatic transitions.
Yeah, and I look at it in the many ways that people look at bourbon or they look at wine, is that complexity is not the only variable or the only definition of quality when it comes to a cigar. In the same way, it's not the same as when it comes to a bourbon or a wine.
Yep.
Some people like a very complex cigar that has a lot of complexity that all stays the same throughout. Some people like a cigar that has a lot of complexity that changes often. Both can be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can actually create more work for it to be super complex, or it can create more work in your mind for it to be transitioning a lot. And for some people, that removes the relaxation, which I think is one of the primary keys to enjoying a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
Where other people like a one note, and so they're fine with a Churchill or a Gordo that's just consistent from the time you light it. Others would say that cigar is boring. Going back to Alex's comment earlier, that box worthy is a little different for every person.
Right, that's correct.
Because complexity is not the only form of quality.
That is true. I mean, the balance is going to matter, the texture matters, the aroma is going to matter, and how that cigar makes you feel matters probably the most.
Absolutely, because if there's a cigar that you don't have to think about, you know how it performs, you don't have to worry about it, you're wanting to wind down, you're wanting to simply relax and enjoy something that you already know, that cigar can be box worthy, even though it's not super complex or doesn't require you to spend a lot of focus on it.
Right. Yep, I agree with that. So we have more to come on what makes a cigar box worthy, but first we're going to take a quick break.
We fell in love with cigars not because of the flavors or smoking experience or perceived status, but because it allows barriers to fall between other humans and build deeper connections. For that reason, we've been super intentional to curate a space where people can find community and enjoyment with others, and cigars just happen to be the way we're doing it. For that reason, we are thrilled to be the one and only cigar retail store and lounge in downtown Lufkin. A good story is one of the most powerful tools used to connect with another human. Sharing stories fades out differences and highlights similarities found in the details or with the storyteller. Over the years, we have seen some of the best stories told over cigars, and thus, new friendships are made, passions shared, encouragement given, and so much more. The impact storytelling has on the human connection is why we've decided to name our store and lounge Stories. Because behind every good cigar and conversation is an even better story.
Back in 1905, under Montana skies, 100 satin factories rolled smoke for a while. Reminders of ranchers' life, one and grin. Now Big Sky Cigar is bringing that spirit back in.
Yellowstone River to the bold bighorn flow. Madison, Beirut, like what we know. And leave from Nicaragua, San Andres to Ecuador rolled up.
And every box sold helps our veterans mend. With warriors and quiet waters, we lend a friend's hand. It's heritage burning in every draw. Big Sky Cigars, Montana's pride and law. Big Sky Cigar, where heritage flows with every draw. Find your rare red Big Sky Cigar to pop.
As always, thank you to our sponsors. Let's go ahead and take a look at our upcoming shows.
Yeah, we got a lot of great shows coming up. Next Monday night, we'll be live back here at Stories, and we're doing the Gathering Place, Cigars, Friendships, and the Third Place. And we're going to be smoking the CAO Flathead Speed Shot 6x60. I'm excited for that episode.
Yeah, me too. Kicking off August on the 3rd, we are doing cigar recommendations, recommending cigars for every level of smoker. And on that episode, we will be smoking the McAuliffe White.
Following week is Misunderstood Dark Cigars. Our dark cigar is stronger, and we're going to be smoking the Montosa Maduro.
Yes, on August 17th, we're going to be having another industrial discussion. We're going to be doing Steel City Cigars with Tony Rawlings, and we are still deciding on which cigar we're going to be doing with that one.
Yeah, so Tony's going to be live with us here at Stories that night, and we're going to do a fun event that night. We're hoping to have a larger live audience. We're going to do a little bit of a cut and light. We're going to sell some cigars. We're launching Steel City Cigars at Story Cigars and Lounge that night, and then recording the podcast here live for him to tell us all about Steel City, why he got into cigars, why he launched the brand. And honestly, he's in the Dallas area, and Steel City really refers to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about why does he have a Pittsburgh cigar brand based out of Texas. There's a whole story to it, so we're excited to have him on to hear that story and smoke with all you guys live. And we will have that determination by Wednesday because he shipped us 2 different cigars. We're going to be smoking them the next couple of days because they got to go out in the Cigar Rebel pack by the end of the week so that everybody has them for their August Cigar Rebel pack, because those will be shipping out a little bit later this week.
Yep.
So going to a couple of comments real quick, we saw a couple people. Roper said that he wants cigars to pair well with bourbon, root beer, and coffee. I agree. I'm drinking a root beer tonight as well as some water. Love bourbon with it. Coffee is always a big hitter. Dave commenting leans toward flavor, strength, and performance, one that makes me comfortable to be box worthy. Alex said his criteria is all over the place, and definitely love that and agree with that. Juan says a cigar has to really wow me in order to grab a box. And that is if it's someplace I grab the cigar, and always love that. And then Leslie said, speaking of McAuliffe, have y'all had the little A from McAuliffe? It's the 4x46. Absolutely love that cigar. Agree 100%. It is box worthy. The little A Churchill is also fantastic. We have actually some of those in the humidor to be released soon. So before we jump back into the topic, really want to ask you guys to drop in the comments if you're watching live. And of course, if you're on replay, always feel free to drop #ReplayFam and let us know a cigar that you think is box worthy. We would love to have, we got a handful of people live. We've got about 20 people watching and streaming here. I don't know how many are on Facebook. But we would love to see you name a cigar that you think is box worthy as we continue this conversation. Before we jump in, Mel, let's check in on the RoMa Craft Intemperance BA Treachery. What is your thoughts?
So I'm probably about halfway through. For me, the flavors kind of from that first third have just deepened a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely a hickory-ish smoky wood.
Yeah.
I grilled some steaks using hickory wood today over a fire, and this reminds me of that. Didn't say that early on because I wanted to make sure I wasn't influenced by that, but smoking it on the retro hell, I definitely get that deep woody flavor.
Yeah, and I was smoking one of our Cigar Rebel first releases that we ever did, and it definitely had some spice to it. And so I waited for that to kind of clear out. And I'm not picking up a ton of spice on this. I don't know if you are, but I get very, very little.
I'm not getting much spice. I've got a little bit of a leathery kind of texture in my mouth. A little bit of black pepper because my tongue is tingling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the flavor, but black pepper notes kind of do that for me. Sometimes that are a citrus.
Yeah.
I would say it's not hitting me in the same way. But there is on the retrohale and on the finish, which this has a pretty long finish, there's a sweetness, but it's deep, like a molasses or a syrupy kind of deepness to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just hints there. So let's go ahead and jump right back into the conversation around is a cigar or what makes a cigar box worthy. How do you know if a cigar, Mel, and I'm curious your thoughts, how do you know if a cigar will stay interesting across an entire box?
And that's difficult to know completely beforehand, I feel like, ultimately. But you can look for that repeat appeal. After finishing the cigar, you can ask, would I want another one tomorrow? Would I still choose it next week? Can I fit it into different situations?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are times that a cigar can be excellent, but exhausting.
Right. A strong, sweet, rich, or intensely flavored cigar may be enjoyable occasionally without becoming that regular rotation of your cigar.
Yeah, and this may be a controversial statement that I'm about to say because a lot of people would disagree with me, but I feel that way with Padron. I love Padron, the 1964, the excellent cigar, the 2000 series, but I feel like I've got to pay attention while smoking it. Like it really impacts me. And so if I'm sitting down to relax, that's not a cigar that I'm going to unwind to.
Right.
Because there's a complexity to it. I don't smoke it often. Now, a lob to that, a toss, I don't know, a caveat, I'm not sure what the right word is, but when we smoked the Padron Ruby Red, the one that was made for two guys, that was a completely different experience. It was very unlike the other Padrones I'd had. Definitely Padron cigar, you could tell it was there, but that is a cigar I've smoked on several occasions that's just like, I'm home.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the cheesy example. When you're sitting at home, Mel and I can be sitting there. We're both doing two different things, but it just feels peaceful to be sitting next to her. We're not even talking. It just feels right. I felt like the Padron Ruby Red was that way. It just felt peaceful.
Yeah.
So I've gone way off script. So we'll get back on notes here. And then we're going to jump to some comments on their cigar boxes here in a minute.
Yeah. So box-worthy cigars, they usually have one of two qualities. They are either going to be versatile to enjoy regularly, or they're going to be distinct enough that you want that experience repeatedly on different occasions.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Wanting to have it more often is something that definitely makes a box-worthy cigar. Let's talk about the economics of buying a box versus singles.
Yes, so boxes often are going to offer that lower cost per cigar than buying the same number as singles.
Yeah, and as a cigar smoker, you need to do the math. Take the singles price, multiply it by the box count, then compare the total with the box price, which may be lower because many shops and manufacturers offer a lower box price. Mm-hmm. Also, you have to consider what your loyalty points might be if your shop offers that.
Yeah. Then there's going to be the promotions if there's any being offered. There's going to be retailer discounts on launches or maybe at special events. And there could be included accessories in there, maybe if you buy a box. And so that's going to help determine, too, if you really want that box or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about box size here in a second. Let's jump to some of these comments on boxes. Dwayne says, loves the Ladybug.
Me too.
Yeah, Mel does. Absolutely. One of our best-selling cigars, so thank you. Dave said, what'd you say?
I said that's another bestseller.
Another bestseller. Dave said, Elevated Humidor House Blend Maduro Corona. I'm telling you, that cigar is amazing. Cigar shops that don't actually ask us for that cigar is missing out, because the 3 cigar shops that do sell it can't keep it in stock.
Yeah.
Neither can we for them. It's the only cigar we struggle keeping up the demand for.
Yep.
Roper says the M81 Black and Robusto and McAuliffe Red Robusto are for sure box worthy. The Roper hits real nice as well. That's a new Stories exclusive cigar. Leslie said, once again, the Elevated Humidor Ladybug, as well as the one from the Night of the Blind Review, are both box worthy. For Dwayne and I, the Garofalo La Familia Maduro and Sungrown, I would agree with that. I have a box of that Maduro at home. Dwayne echoes the M81. Dwayne said he is getting some hints of cumin. Maybe that's that. I said black pepper, but that cumin hits, you know. Rocky Patel Sapphire is box worthy too. I love that you say that, Leslie. I've actually not had it yet. We have it on order for our shop, but we're just not seeing it yet. Addie says the McAuliffe Silver, the number 2, is box worthy. Then Leslie said, girl, we can't keep them in stock at her shop. Most McAuliffes are box worthy for me, especially the white and purple. Most Elevated Humidor as well. A new one for me is the Racy's, or actually that's probably the Rojas Quiet Morning.
Yes.
That's there. Said she's smoking it right now, which is awesome. Kelsey says last box I bought was the Oscar Leaf Maduro Toro. That's another great cigar. Tried a single just because of the leaf novelty. Expect to be total marketing, but it was really great. Lots of good comments running through here. Dave said Liga Privada number 9. Tammy says the limited edition Duality, the McAuliffe Silver, West Tampa White, RoMa Craft Whiskey Rebellion, Perdomo Legacy Maduro, JFR Titan Connecticut. Man, y'all got some great box-worthy cigars. McAuliffe Green, New World, the Perdomo 12 Year are all box-worthy. Absolutely love that. Eric said the box-worthy RoMa Craft Memorian and Southern Draw Morning Glory. My Father, Florida Antilles come to mind. Absolutely. The great thing about Eric saying that, Mel, is all 3 of those are shipping this week to us. So there'll be box-worthy buys, Eric, for you here in a couple of days. Celtics have an amazing leaf rep, and so love the leaf. And then finally, Kevin, we sold 4 boxes of the Sapphire in less than a week, which is spectacular for that. So we could go on. There's more comments. I skipped several, but we got to get back to the topic tonight so we don't run out of time. So Mel, right before we went to comments, I asked you about box sizes. Yeah. Let's dive into that. Tell us a little bit about box sizes.
So box sizes are interesting to me because depending on the box size can also impact your decision on if you're going to buy a box. There are so many different box sizes that come in 10, you can have 12, you can have
20,
21, 24. Sometimes maybe they do come in a box. Maybe sometimes they come in a bundle. When we redid all of our own marketing for the or all of our boxes and everything for the Elevated Humidor, at first we went to 10 count boxes and then 20 count bundles for lounges to refill or for people to buy the 20 count bundle. And for me, it was very quick. Couple weeks in, I actually did not like that. I wanted all of our stuff to be the same. So we moved to just 10 count bundles, 10 count boxes.
Yeah, it absolutely. It's just make it easy, right? It's an easy box buy. Yeah. It's an easy bundle buy for customers, for shops. It's easy for them to do the math, no matter what the cigar is. In our limited editions, we're still in 25 count bundles.
Yeah.
And we moved those back down to the 10 count.
Yep.
An example for this, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus or say anything, it's simply because we're smoking a RoMa Craft tonight, is RoMa Craft's a tough one because we just worked on an order for RoMa Craft on getting some things ordered and then talking about kind of our plan for the rest of the year. I know it's July, but we try and plan out with RoMa Craft through the end of the year. We kind of have a conversation twice a year for them. Looking at the order sheet, they've got 10 count, 12 count, 24 count, and 50 count boxes. And then their bundles of those boxes don't match the bundle size. So if it's a 10 count box, it's a 20 count bundle. If it's a 12 count, then it's a 18 count bundle. If it's, so it's like There's no way to go, I need this amount.
Yeah.
You've got to literally look at each one. And as a customer and consumer walking in, like, man, I love this cigar. Last time I bought it, I got the 12 count box from RoMa Craft. So why don't you go and give me a box? But then it's 24.
Yeah.
And it's double the amount they thought they were spending. And you're having that conversation at the cash register.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. And it's not a negative. I understand why they do it, different sizes, Vitolas, projects.
Yeah.
But man, I love those cigar companies that it's one size, period.
Well, and I'd love to know, as the cigar consumer, the person who's out there buying the boxes for your house, does it vary based on how big the box count is? Are you more likely to buy a box if it comes with 25 or more because you know that you're going to smoke through all those? Or do you prefer a safer commitment maybe to a box of 10 if you're going to buy a box? That's an interesting, does that impact your decision to buy the box, how big the box is?
Yeah, and Leslie says that personally prefers boxes that are even numbers since she has to share with popcorn. And Dwayne says I divide between them by 2 for couples who share.
So 25 is probably out for you then?
Yeah, absolutely. 25 is not working for them. So want to give a simple example of an actual experience I had standing in our humidor just a few days ago. So I talked about Fat Bottom Betty's earlier from Deadwood. They come in 10 count boxes for Fat Bottom Betty. A single cigar is a $12 cigar, so a box of 10 is $120. There was a guy coming in. I happened to be in the humidor that day, and he was looking at getting 2 or 3. He said, I'm going to go and get 4 because I might smoke a couple at home. And he goes, as he's getting ready to leave, our tobacconist was already out at the register helping somebody else. And he goes, I said, Mark, I'll go in and check you out. And he goes, well, I might be back in a couple of days to get some more. I said, well, hey, if you're going to get some more, and I'm not trying to upsell you at all, but if you buy a 10 count box, it's $108, which is actually like buying 9, get 1 free, because we offer a 10% discount on all boxes.
Yep.
And so he was like, man, that's great. He went in and grabbed the box, headed out, and it was a great experience. So it's not always like it's an upsell. Sometimes it's about helping your customers, helping you rebels have a better buying experience, because everybody wants to save money, right? And everybody likes free.
Yeah, 100%. That box discount, it can improve the value of a correct decision like that for that gentleman. But it can't necessarily correct the wrong decision. So if you bought the whole thing and you end up not liking them, it doesn't matter that you have the extra one for free. You're not going to smoke it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the goal is not to own the most cigars. The goal is to own cigars you're excited to smoke or share with friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've covered a lot tonight. And, that includes kind of the value proposition around buying a box when you smoke several of the same cigar frequently. But I want to run down for the rebels, everyone out there, the reasons maybe, or the criteria in our minds that make the cigar worthy of a box.
Yeah, absolutely. So Alex mentioned, somebody said that he should come out with a couples box, and Dwayne said he's agree. And Alex is like, he's thinking about it. So one of the things that's interesting about that, not our idea of a couples box, but similar, we have 10 count boxes. With one exception, we have a cigar coming out that's going to be a 12 count box. So we have a box coming out that's going to be a 12 count box.
Yes.
And that box is going to be the Velvet Collection. And so it's going to have 4 Velvet Smooth, 4 Velvet Gold, and 4 Velvet Spice.
Yep.
So our thought on that was that you would have a couple to share with somebody else. So there's kind of our couples box coming out here in the conversation. So we actually have 3 different blends in that box. As I was talking, Alex's comment, 2 different blends came up. But let's jump into this criteria in our mind that makes a cigar box worthy. I think that's a great plan. And why don't you get us started on that?
So first is going to be that consistency of the experience that we've talked about. You're going to buy a box when you know the cigar is going to deliver that repeatable satisfaction. You've smoked it multiple times and you'd enjoyed it. The blend is going to perform consistently across for the experiences. It's going to fit your palate. Again, that is important. The strength, the flavor, the burn, the aroma, all those things are working together for you.
Great points.
And it's going to be a cigar that you are reaching for without thinking, whether you want to think through it while you're smoking or maybe whether you're working. If you can smoke 3 on different days and love all 3, then that is going to be box worthy.
Yeah, consistency is so important when it comes to a cigar.
It is. Having something that you consistently can go to and love, that's really important if you smoke cigars daily.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the second criteria is the aging potential. Some cigars transform dramatically over time, and a box lets you experience the evolution. You buy them and smoke a couple, then a couple more 3 or 4 months later, and then 3 or 4 months later, maybe a year later. It's always a fun experiment. Signs a cigar is really age-worthy is high quality fermentation. It's already got a great, rich, smooth, complex smoke. It's got a strong backbone, a great Nicaraguan or Dominican Lajero. It's a complex blend that will maybe mellow or deepen over time, and aging it will tell, because you don't really know, is it going to deepen or is it going to get a little milder? Maybe there's a slight harshness or a bitterness to it. Sometimes aging that will kind of help that. You enjoyed it when you're smoking it, but you might enjoy it even more with that transition.
Right.
You want to have a cellar, like a wine cellar, but instead you want to have a humidor that's just for aging cigars, so you can kind of experiment and see what happens to it over time. A box becomes a long-term investment in flavor, especially if you're going to age it and you want to try and do that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so third is going to be the limited production, or that scarcity factor that we mentioned earlier. Scarcity is going to be one of those biggest drivers of box purchases. So you're going to buy a box if it's a limited edition, if it's a seasonal or one of those annual releases. If the brand is going to be boutique or craft, they're going to probably have smaller production lines of that cigar. The blend maybe uses that rare tobacco, so it's not as easy for them to get to produce all the time. It's not going to be around long, and you're going to regret not having more later. You can buy the box now. And we talk about a lot, the box buys if you're smoking them every day.
Right.
But also I think that looking at, this third tier, something to consider is it is important to buy a box if you love that cigar and you don't want to smoke it every day, but you want to have it when you want to have it.
Yeah, and that's really probably the reason I buy boxes more than any other personally. I buy my daily cigar and those that I love, that I like to smoke all the time. I buy those by the box. I'll buy those frequently. However, the cigars that I love purchasing by the box more than anything is those rare finds, limited editions, and that makes it fun.
Yeah, I mean, we purchased 3 big boxes in a matter of days last fall for this very reason of the scarcity and the limited edition, and that was the Padron Ruby Red and then the Perdomo limited edition for Two Guys Cigars 40th anniversary. And we did not buy enough. Like, if those were we were still able to get a box of those, I would buy another box of each of those today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, those weren't cheap buys. I mean, that Ruby Red box was $1,400 a box, and I think we bought 2 of them, and they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not interested in saving them. I was interested in smoking them, and then we shared them with some people.
Yep.
And that absolutely became a big deal. And then a couple of months later, we bought the Atabay Two Guys 4th anniversary that had the Atabay and Atabay Black. And that was a kind of a funny story, because I told Mel I wasn't going to buy them. We had a lot of expenses that month. So I went ahead and bought one. Mel bought one for our anniversary for me.
Yeah.
So we ended up with 2 boxes of those,
Can't
which were great. And
we still smoked them all. So
we did. I mean, again, we shared some, we smoked some. I think we're down to a couple of each of those cigars left. That's the only ones we have. We do have a few of those Perdomos left. I noticed in our humidor, not a lot, but a couple.
When I love when I hear people are like, oh, I get cigars for so-and-so, or I love to get so-and-so a gift. I want it on the record. I do try to buy you cigars, but most of the time, if I'm trying to keep it a secret, you buy it for yourself anyway.
Oh, I know. It's
tough.
tough.
Release day,
yeah. And so, like, in those scenarios, this kind of fits into your limited edition criteria, your third criteria. is one of the reasons we were excited about buying those cigars is I knew they were going to be spectacular because who they were made for and who was producing them. But some of that was around supporting an amazing company and team that we have a lot of belief in and a lot of value, and that has been good to us.
Yeah.
And we want to support them. Sometimes buying a cigar that's rare or limited is as much around supporting that company as much as it is around the cigar.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if you know the cigar is going to perform well either way, it's easy to support the company.
Right.
So Mel, why don't you get into the fourth criteria, which is the price advantage?
Right. So that fourth number on there is going to be, like you just said, the price advantage. And this is going to be for those who are wanting to save money potentially. These boxes are always going to almost offer better economics. So the box discount, you're probably going to get 5 to 20% depending on where you're buying it from. There could be some freebies involved, like swag or cutters or lighters, like we mentioned earlier. It's going to lower the cost of the cigar in probably 99% of all cases.
Yeah.
And there's going to be that better resale or trade value if you're a collector of cigars.
Absolutely.
And if you already plan to smoke 10 to 12 of them, the box really is going to pay for itself.
Yeah, right out the gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fifth one is emotional or ritual value. Cigars are emotional objects, not just consumables. I know we burn them, we light them on fire, but a cigar becomes box worthy when it does one of a few things. One is it marks a moment, a wedding, a birth, a promotion, some kind of celebration. It becomes your signature smoke. I know a few guys that if you're going to sit down and smoke a cigar with them, they're going to be smoking this cigar.
Yeah.
That's what they smoke. It's tied to a memory or a person, maybe someone who's passed away or a great friend who loved this cigar. We have a good friend who buys a bottle of bourbon once a year because that friend who's passed away bought them that bourbon once as a gift. And so now every year they buy that bottle and have a pour around the time of his passing.
Mm-hmm.
I think cigars can be done the same way. You want to share it with friends. One of the things I did recently is we bought several of the McAuliffe Gordos. And then just a couple of weeks before that, we bought some of the Perdomo Legacy Father and Son to share with a few friends. We couldn't get a lot of them. By the time we had access to them, we could buy maybe 9 total. And so not 9 boxes, 9 cigars. And so we bought those to share with a couple people. And that all becomes a reason, the emotional attachment to buying a box.
Yeah, 100%. So,
yeah. So side note to that was just, as I'm saying that made me think, cigars are as much about belonging as they are about smoking.
yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, it's really true. I'm going to go ahead and move into number 6, which is going to be mentioned a little bit earlier, but either that brand loyalty or that craft appreciation. So if you believe in that brand's craftsmanship, their story, you're going to buy a box. So, examples of that are, you could know the blender maybe, or you support the craft boutique makers that are making that cigar. You love the brand or the aging room philosophy that they use. You want to support those small producers of that cigar. And those box purchases are going to be votes of confidence
Absolutely.
If you're buying that box of cigar for them.
Yeah, the 7th one here is collector value. Some boxes are worthy because the box itself is valuable. Unique artwork, high quality or unique construction, limited edition packaging, boxes that are really a beautiful display piece or a humidor like the Atabay's recent release, that leather covered box, which is really a humidor. Boxes that truly appreciate and value. Collectors buy boxes to store and hold on to the entire box, sometimes so they can show it off, sometimes so they can enjoy the cigar,
Right.
sometimes so they can sell it later.
Yeah, right. And number 8 is going to be the humidor strategy. So a box is going to be worth buying when it fits into your humidor philosophy. So maybe it's you have that daily driver cigar that you have every day, no matter what happens. Maybe it's that special occasion cigar like we had talked about. Maybe you're smoking one a year or one a month, or if there's a special celebration. Maybe you want something for when you have guests that come over. Maybe it's something that would be approachable for someone who's having their first cigar, or maybe it's a yearly grouply gathering. Could be any of those things. You want that craft showcase section, and you want consistency in your rotation of cigars that you're smoking.
Yeah.
So boxes are going to structure in your humidor.
Yeah, they bring a great structure, or create a great structure for you to have a lot of different options sitting on the deck, cigar shops closed, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
But Rebels, there you have it. There's the criteria that we kind of fill out and create a scorecard, if you will. Yeah. That's really our guide to the question, is this cigar box worthy?
Yep.
We've actually created a multiple answer quiz that you can use to kind of answer the question, do I want to buy this box of cigars? If you'd like a copy of that, Mel, it's really easy. All they got to do is shoot us an email at support@theelevatedhumidor.com, and we'll send it over to you.
Yeah.
It's a quick and easy PDF, one page. You score it super quick. If you geek out like us, it's a great thing to look at and go, hey, yeah, this cigar is box worthy or not. But that's kind of where we're at with, is this cigar box worthy?
Yeah, and don't be scared to buy the box. I know we talk about all of these things, like should you buy a box? Look at these things, if maybe that could be a way to show you if you need to buy a box or not. But I have constant people who are afraid of the commitment, that they'll come in and they're afraid to commit to the box, but they come in and they'll buy 3 of the same cigar a week for 6 months. And it's
or even multiple times a week.
You could have just bought at that time a box plus at that point. So just don't be afraid to commit to the box.
Yeah. So Mel, let's talk about our final thoughts on this cigar. I'm in the final third of the RoMa Craft Intemperance BA Treachery. That sweetness, or kind of a molasses type of richness, is still there on the finish for me. On the retrohale, there's still a little bit of that pepper or citrusy notes that I haven't quite finished.
Yeah.
And the hickory is still there, very rich and earthy for me. What about you?
Yeah, I would say I agree with that. I think the finish for me is definitely, it is holding on even longer than when we were talking about it when we were about halfway through. And I've only smoked 2 of these, so this is only my second one ever.
Yeah.
And I don't remember this on the first one, but on this one, because I'm paying attention, the draw has changed as I've gotten into this last third. It's much more airy for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, the draw has changed completely from when I lit it.
Yeah, the draw has changed completely. It was a little bit of a hard draw, and then it kind of opened up in the second third, and then this last third's almost too airy for me.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Every draw is hitting the back of my throat every time, because I'm still trying to take those draws like I was early on.
Yeah.
And because we're talking to the Rebels out there, I'm watching comments, looking at notes. I should have adjusted my draw and didn't.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a great cigar.
Yep.
So here's the deal. Based on our criteria, Mel, is this box worthy to you? Would you buy a box of this and smoke it? It's a box of 24. You've smoked 2.
As a box of 24, I don't know that I personally would buy a box.
Okay. I'm glad that you said that, because I probably would not buy a box. However, there's a reason why. When it comes to RoMa Craft, I enjoy them, but I smoke them occasionally. It's not something that's in my normal daily rotation. Like the Neanderthals in your daily rotation. You would buy a box of Neanderthal.
I would, and especially if I was choosing between the 2.
I have bought a box of Baca. I've bought a box of Fomorian on this. Those are cigars in their line I like a little bit better. However, I know people that love this cigar. It's a limited edition. It only comes out once a year. It's in their regular production, but it doesn't come out. It's not always available. And so I know people that buy a box of this. Just because it's not in my box buy doesn't mean it's not in others.
Right.
That's the beauty of the criteria. We have a lot of different blends, even within the same company. We rattled off 2 or 3 other RoMa Crafts that we would box buy. So this isn't we wouldn't buy RoMa Craft by the box. We might not buy this cigar. This is my fourth of this cigar. I smoked a couple because I knew we were going to have this on the episode tonight. I wanted to share it with our Rebel Pack subscribers so that they could get an option to smoke it if they hadn't.
Yep.
Because it's worth trying if you like RoMa Craft, especially if you like their more Maduro. I personally love the EC, which is their Connecticut line, and would definitely buy more of that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our thoughts on the cigar. That's our thoughts on the box buy. Lots of great comments talking about the episode being informative and a great topic. And so we really appreciate you guys joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review, share with your cigar friends, and hit us up for any topics you want us to cover on future episodes.
Yeah, and if you're watching this or listening on a replay, drop us a comment at hashtag replayfam. Let us know what you're smoking. Let us know what cigar you think is box worthy. And as always, you can follow us on social media at Cigar Rebel. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button or click on notify me there on YouTube so it lets you know when the next episode is coming, because we come every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. Next week, we have a great episode, as we mentioned earlier, Gathering Place. Our cigar shop's the last third place. But for tonight, that's our show.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Until then, keep your cigar lit, your ash long, and your palate curious.
Good night, Rebels.
All right.